Hello and welcome to Move the Line Prop Drop Show presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. I'm Ryan Noonan back for Super Wildcard Weekend to talk about the best way and the most profitable way to bet on NFL football, and that is here through Player Props. We are live here 2 p.m. Eastern every Friday on the 4for4 Bets YouTube channel. We are here to give out our favorite props of the Wildcard Weekend and to take your questions. It's our favorite part of the show. If you're able to hang out with us now on YouTube, jump in the chat. Let us know what your favorite prop look is for the week. Again, with only 6 games, the board's pretty populated. Obviously, we have some injury question marks that are pausing some situations, but let us know what your favorite look is. Any thoughts on a play? You want to bounce it off of us? Any of that stuff, we'll get to as many as possible here at the end of the show. Joining us on YouTube is the best way to get these lines. They move fast. If you want to get the same number, same price, make sure you do that. We'll continue all through the Super Bowl. We are here all the time, same channel. If you like the podcast feed, you might get some stale bread, but podcast should be in your feed later on Friday evenings. Support it with a thumbs up, subscribe, all those things goes a long way. Joining me here, as always, back from Mexico, Connor Allen. What's going on?
Yeah, not a whole lot. I think we got it's a great week for unders, but I feel like a lot of it's already being accounted for with, the weather and everything. But I think there could still be a little bit of meat on the bone. We'll get to that a little bit later, but I'm excited.
Yeah, definitely some other situations. And I think, we can talk about that because, there's some, it's going to be cold. It's going to be snowy, going to be windy in some places, probably already accounted for, but maybe we can capture some of that. Slop he took Connor's place on vacation. He's somewhere tropical. Smart time to do it as we are in the middle of this polar vortex. So we sucked in one of our own here from the Chicagoland area, the managing editor of all digital media at FanDuel. This is great timing, sponsor of the show. It is our friend, Jim Sanis. Jim, welcome to the show. Appreciate it. How are we doing?
I'm doing great. I needed a distraction from some round 2 3 balls for the Sony Open, so I figured I might as well talk to you because I'm sure you've probably got some too, Ryan. So it was a bit selfish on my end, get some props from you guys and not think about what Russell Henley's doing in round 2. He doesn't tee off till 5, so I'm okay from that perspective, but I'd rather not think about it for a bit.
I got Henley in to make the cut parlay, so we need Henley to have a nice little day too. 1 under, so we can totally derail the show and leave Connor completely in the dust by talking golf.
Yeah, don't get Noonan going. Shit, I mean, yeah, it's like you start off a little golf conversation.
That's right.
Like 3 minutes later, and we'll be talking about what's our guy Nate Lashley. We'll be back on that.
Oh jeez, yeah,
it's Luke this week every week though, so we're good.
Okay, all right. Well, hey, the outright card's looking pretty good so far. I got some. You want to be alive after round 1.
Yep.
And Aaron Rye, Justin Rose, Brendan Todd.
I had Siwoo Kim over Rose yesterday and did not go well. Not a fan of Justin Rose is on the poop list for a bit, so we're ignoring him for a while.
That's fair. I hit Siwoo here last year. This is I love this course. I love this event. It's always a profitable one. So anyway, BetSports Golf, subscribe there. We have plenty of content as well. We're going to do football today for now. Maybe Jim and I will do golf after the show. But again, 2 episodes to move the line each week. This is Prop Drop, obviously. Game previews. So if you want to get a little bit more size totals, hands in the dirt in terms of matchup specific stuff, Connor, myself, and Sharp Clark do that on Wednesdays, 3 p.m. Or 4 p.m. Eastern. Same as well. So subscribe. We're going to continue there through the Super Bowl, obviously, as well. If you want to get the betting subscription, you want to get access to all that we do at 4for4, we're running up to the end of the season. That's only going to take you through the end of February. So it's a very truncated subscription. But again, we're still betting MMA. We're betting NBA. It'll get you a little feel for all that we have. Because if you in season play DFS, high stakes, season long, you want all the articles, tools, rankings, projections, all that stuff that we do best ball. You can get all that too. Right now, just $19.99. So just access to our Discord. I think we'll pay for that to get access to all the picks, even the picks that Connor and I are going to put out today. To be transparent, we give to the subscribers shortly before talking about them on the show to reward our people while being able to get the best of the line as these move very fast. If you want to play in any of the pick'em sites, Vivid Picks, Underdog, what else is out there? Prize Picks, all those things. We have channels for you as well there. So subscribe. More information in the show notes, 4for4.com/plans. Check it out. All right. Like I said, live lines, no stale bread. These are things that you can get currently right now. Connor, the floor is yours. Super wildcard weekend. What do you got for us to get started?
Yeah, it looks like my notification just went through on the phone there while I was sending it out. So, yeah, I mean, this breaks my heart, but I got to do it. Tua Tagovailoa, I'm going to go with under 230.5 passing yards. A couple of different outs, I think, on this under here. So First off, let's just start with the weather here. I mean, we're looking at this, one of the coldest games in NFL history. Temperatures are 0 degrees, wind chill 25 degrees, with the wind chill negative 25 degrees. We're looking at wind speeds of probably around 15 miles per hour, which starts to matter for passing. But the key here is that I talked with our old weather guy, Chris Allen. He basically said that grip strength is a massive issue when it gets that cold, because I mean, you can get frostbite as quick as 15 minutes per Kevin Roth if you have like exposed hands. So these guys are going to be wearing gloves, maybe even thicker gloves, and at bare minimum on the sidelines, they're going to be having their hands on the heater or those, little packets. The bottom line is it's not going to be very easy to throw to the ball, especially like with guys like Tua, who are not like grip it and rip it types of guys. Like, the only people we basically seen have success throwing the ball in history is like Brett Favre in these types of conditions in like 2008, who is like, a legitimate psycho, jogging naked in cold weather, like literally crazy guy out there. So that's not Tua. And I think that in this spot here, Jalen Waddle's banged up. The last time that these teams met, they only threw for 190 yards, despite them going down 21-0. It's a tough matchup. They're more of a run funnel defense. So like they're easier to run on than pass on. So a lot of different ways I think this goes under. So 230.5, even though it's a lot lower than like his normal median line throughout the season, I think it's a good look on the under.
I'm so proud of you, because I know this is hard. It's probably hard for you.
I love the Dolphins. I'm not even a Dolphins fan. I just love them.
You are a card-carrying member of TuneOn. This is like, you were an early adapter too. Like it didn't even exist.
I was.
So yeah, this is all right. This is commitment to the best of the number and the best play, taking in situation. Jim, what are your thoughts here on Tua? And obviously this game in general, it's going to be wild.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the passing yards prop from Mahomes too, that one's down 6 yards from where it was this morning. So we're seeing some movement that way. I had the under for this game at when it got to 44.5. I thought that was a good look. It's still 44 right now, so it hasn't moved a ton, but like that wind matters a lot. I care more about wind than weather. And like, even when I'm not accounting for like the temperature, like I still think the under is the best way to go. And that plays well for passing yardage too. So I think that this makes a lot of sense given the injuries to the pass catchers, injuries to the offensive line, which have gotten better than what they were before, but still not ideal. And I think they'll try to keep things on the ground here. I do want to check out Raheem Mostert unders too, despite the fact I think they run heavy, because I just kind of don't like his role as much as most people do. But I think it just in general, looking at a lot of unders in this game, I think Tua is probably the ideal way to do so on the Dolphins side.
The Mahomes one I was looking at too, my issue is just like the Dolphins defense is so beat up. And when they didn't get pressure, last week on Josh Allen, I mean, he was like borderline flawless. And if you're not going to be able to pressure Patrick Mahomes, like,
right,
I know his pass catchers stink, but like, anytime they do have to pass the ball, I just like worried. Whereas like the Chiefs defense is at least good, it's weather plus a good matchup. Whereas the other one, it's like, if this was a regular game without any weather, I mean, Mahomes could throw for 300 pretty easy, I think, against this Dolphins defense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've looked at some of the Chiefs cornerback stuff too, like McDuffie, 4.5 tackles plus money. That's a play that we went to McDuffie in this game in Germany, and he got there very, very quickly. I just worry about the play volume, sustains. You got to have completions to get tackles, especially at the cornerback position. And that just makes me a little bit nervous. So I'm sure some of our subscribers are wondering why McDuffie hasn't been a play already. So that's probably why. Jeff's in the chat. Jeff, tough weekend for you, Jeff. Jeff's a big kicker guy. Loves to share some of his field goal props. I don't know. It's not great weather conditions for some field goals here, but we'll see what Jeff's got for us as the show goes on. But yeah, Hawaiian Tebow, Connor is stewing in the inside, though he's keeping a really calm demeanor on the outside. All right, Jim, floor is yours. First play here for Super Wildcard Weekend.
So same game. It's actually the only over I like for this game is Isaiah Pacheco, 86.5 rushing plus receiving yards. That's minus 114 at FanDuel Sportsbook right now. This is more so, it's not because of the injuries to Miami. It's not because of weather. It's because of the role that he has in this offense when there's no Jerick McKinnon, which is why I want to go rushing plus receiving is 2 outs towards and over here. In the full games that Pacheco has played without McKinnon, he's had 89 yards in scrimmage, 123, and then 165 in that Bengals game. And with how effective they were in that Bengals game, I'd kind of expect them to kind of want to keep things on the ground again. Now, Miami does have some good defensive tackles, but they still ranked to 16th against the rush based on number fire schedule adjusted metrics. So you can get them on the ground. I think, again, the Chiefs, given the weather, probably will want to do so here. I did think about Pacheco for a touchdown, but because I like the under in this game, I kind of don't want to bite off my, or is it cut off my nose to spite my face? Whatever that saying is. I didn't want to, work against myself with the Pacheco touchdown bet, but this is minus 114 as well. I think that's why I prefer to go with a yardage bet than a touchdown bet, is that I don't think there'll be a ton of points in this game. This is the one that does stand out here. It's really just Pacheco's role without McKinnon is really, really robust. And I think this is a great way to take advantage of that role. So Pacheco, 86.5 rushing plus receiving yards, minus 114 is where I'd be looking there.
I like it. I was flirting with Pacheco carries over this morning as well. So I can definitely get here. Connor, any thoughts on the Pacheco? I like that handicap.
No, I love it. It's one that I was looking at because of the whole no Jerick McKinnon. Like he's seeing like all the receiving work basically. Yeah, it's one that I've considered. I haven't played officially, but I was maybe dabbling in some alts too. Alt rushing, receiving, I think is a good look. So yeah, because I mean, if he booms, it's just going to be awesome too. Plus, like he's the exact type of back, like cold weather back, runs hard, runs, just like a lot of motion. He's just not going to be wanting to be tackled. So I think a lot of subjective angles there too kind of support that.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit on the game preview show, and it is subjective. There's definitely something to it though. But like these guys aren't all from Miami, but like they've lived in Miami for the last couple of months, and it's like your blood thins out. That's cold. That is it's human nature. Yeah, you're going to be heat warmers, all the stuff, blankets, coats on the side. Man, you get out there and you're out there for a sustained drive with someone maybe in the third or fourth quarter who's been just kind of beating you up in the face for like a couple hours. It's human nature like that. It's harder. And again, like it's not something that we like typically are going to subscribe to or like we're not building it into any model. It is narrative driven, but like I think it's okay sometimes to remember that this game is played on the field and going to be played in some really wonky conditions this week. And I think it matters. So that's not even part of Jim's handicap. It was fantastic. And I like this play. My first one too. I think the conditions are a little wild. I think it actually maybe helps support a little bit. I'm going to go with Jaylen Warren over 3.5 receptions. This is plus 120 on FanDuel. He's been cruising over this as of late, especially with Mason Rudolph. He's topped it with every 5 straight in every game with Rudolph at quarterback. Najee's taken on a larger role, especially on early downs, but like it's just been Warren on pass downs, long down and distance, third down stuff. Najee maybe will get some work in the passing game on base downs, but Warren is really he was starting to emerge, and we thought maybe he was taking over some of the early down work, and it feels like he's kind of shifted back into he was somewhat of a third down back. And look, it's going to be nasty. There's not going to be a lot of passing, and having an over in terms of a passing game isn't great. When you look at Warren on the season, he already has a negative 1.8 yard average depth of target. So he's not massively impacted here by the weather. And I don't really like the yards here. Even last week against the Ravens in that sloppy game, he caught 5 balls for 17 yards. Again, just couldn't get his footing, couldn't break anything yardage wise, but went over his 3.5 reception line again at plus money. So I'm going to go back to the well, even though we could have just, I don't know, Sharknado with snow and what's going on here. But again, like, double digit dogs, bad environments, Mason Rudolph not going to be able to push the ball down the field. Check downs to his running back seems like very viable and not massively impacted by the game here. Jim, what are your thoughts on Warren here at plus money?
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. His role has been awesome for a while now. If you look at him since their bye week, that's when they started to like really become a pretty efficient running team, and that's when Warren's role really increased. He's at 4.1 targets per game in that span, so like it's not a huge amount of buffer above 3.5 catches, but he has also been getting more work, like you said, in the passing game, specifically recently. And like you said, the weather does align pretty well with this one, so I think it would make a lot of sense. This is probably stupid. I still like the over in this game, honestly. I know it's like the weirdest weather you've ever seen, and the wind is very high. And like I have wind speed as a pretty heavy factor in my model, but I still can't sniff 34.5. So I think that seeing some passing here is still in play. And I hope he's efficient on those targets too, and those catches, because I need to find a way to get an out on this over here.
Yeah. Need Pittsburgh to buoy that a little bit.
Yep.
Connor, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, there's a couple things that I've been mulling over with the Steelers side too. So obviously both teams I think are specifically going to want to come in run heavy. But I think that after Buffalo gets a lead, like Steelers have been extremely run heavy, but a lot of that's because they've been winning, and that's because they've been ahead. Mason Rudolph has a strong arm. I mean, he's not very accurate, but he has a strong arm. So like he can push the ball through the wind. I think that they'll end up having to throw the ball a little bit more than we're expecting. And so like, I worry because if I felt like this was going to be a close game, I think you could safely take the under in both. But like when they're down 10, like they're not going to be, they can't just run the ball every single play. I mean, they could, but you know, like they're going to have to throw the ball eventually. And I think Warren's going to be involved there. So my only concern is if it doesn't get out of hand, then Mason Rudolph maybe only does have 25 attempts, but that's like the only devil's advocate where I'm playing to this because his role is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just a floor falls out from a play volume standpoint. Yeah, for sure. I mean, any over is dying on the floor in that situation. So
yeah.
I was looking at some of the like longest, I think there's some like, I don't know, you know, I like the longest reception, longest completion plays. There's wondering if those are properly accounted for. They're pretty short relative to what they typically are. Like when you look at, you know, George Pickens or something like that. But again, like, yeah, the weather's an issue, the wind's an issue, but like, as people are talking about in the chat, tackling is an issue at times. You know, footing when the offensive player knows where they're going. Like, it's what we always talk about, like, you know, weather, unless it's extreme, doesn't matter so much because the offense has an advantage. This is one of those scenarios where I think we're in extreme counting weather situations, but doesn't mean that we can't, to Jim's point, still get to an over 34, still have some big plays because someone slips, breaks a tackle, and things happen. So I don't know what to do with them, but I'm definitely still mulling some of those over because they're plays that I like to make. So. All right, Connor, you sent out a round robin tweet. So this is the spicy section of the show. We like to go a little bit off the board. Round robin parlays, same game parlays, poorly correlated parlays with boosted juice. What are we doing here? Do you want to share the round robin or what else you got for us here in the spicy section?
Yeah, we'll touch on the round robin. First off, last week, Kenneth Walker cost me, well, it didn't cost me anything, but prevented me from winning like 10K basically. So we had Nico Collins alt over. We had Jared Goff's alt over because basically played like the, you know, chance that maybe if he played the whole game, it was a great matchup. And then we had Kenneth Walker's alt over, had 70 yards with 14 minutes left in the third quarter, finished with 78. We needed 80 for like 10K and then like another like 110 for like another 10, 15K. And we wound up winning like 2K each instead, which obviously is great, but
Sure.
you know, it's not 20K, you know, that's for sure. So anyways, point is the way that we're doing this, the way we're doing like round robining is we're taking 5 different alts or 4 or 5 different alts that are all plus 500 and then putting it a little bit of money on every single combination. So the 2s, the 3s, the 4s, the 5s, everything. So for this week, I'm looking at James Cook alt rushing yards over 99.5. You can find, you know, plus 500 at DraftKings there. I think is interesting. Again, you can do this on FanDuel as well, but just shop around for wherever you'll find the odds are best. So over 100 yards there. We've already talked about how the snow in this game. I think snow, wind, everything could force them to be more run heavy. Steelers run defense has been good, but I think the work could be there. And a plus 500, it's a great number. CJ Stroud over 28.5 rushing yards. Did not run a bunch in college, but ran a lot against Georgia when it mattered most. Ran a lot against Indianapolis when it mattered most last week. Already has a 40-yard rushing yard game under his belt against the Jags. I mean, he's way more athletic than people think. So I think against this Browns defense that plays good man defense, gets a lot of pressure. Maybe he scoots 2, 3, 4 times and picks up 30 yards. Again, 5-1. CeeDee Lamb, over 148 yards. I know it's a massive number, but it's 100 yards. So his baseline is 100 yards. Like he is such a good matchup over the middle of the field against this Packers defense that does not do a good job scheming. Jair Alexander looks like he may not even play. DNP twice. If he does play, he's not going to be 100%. I think that's a good look. And then last 2 here, I'll try and wrap this up. Cooper Kupp, over 112.5 receiving yards. I really like this Rams passing game here. And just the way the alts shook out, like Stafford's plus 500 was like 350 yards or something. So that's, I mean, it seemed pretty aggressive compared to Kupp, 112. I think he takes a bigger step forward here against the pass funnel Lions. Then the last one here, a little bit off the wall. Mecole Hardman, 40 plus receiving yards. You know, there's just Kadarius Toney's not going to play or will play a little bit. You know, there's just some rumors about his role, you know, expanding potentially a little bit. So that's all I'll say.
I would think there would be like you've been going to the well with like with Watson a lot in that spot. I was thinking that might be.
It was in play. I thought about it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just like the weather's not great. I mean, honestly, this is the one I feel least good about. One, because it's, you know, Mecole Hardman, but I mean, these other guys suck. Like MBS, we've talked about every week. He is horrible. He is like one of the worst receivers.
Like he has the yips. Like they should have like played him every snap last week and fed him like 30 balls to like snap him out of it. Cause like what's the downside? Like they should have just fed him last week in order to like get his brain right.
Something's going on there. Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think we see a good bit of Hardman. I mean, all it takes is 40 yards is nothing with Mahomes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you made a good point. I mean, I like obviously anything associated with Rams passing game. I think most of us do. And the Cup and Puka receptions looked low, and I can get there with the yards too for sure. So yeah, don't hate that at all. Pretty, I would call a 5-leg alt round robin parlay a pretty spicy way to start it off. Jim, where are you at? The floor? I mean, the bar's raised high after that.
We're not going that spicy. No, we're not going that spicy. But we're taking a similar approach. We're like looking at alternate markets in situations where I think there's a bit of fluidity with a player's role. So I want to go to Jameson Williams, 70 plus receiving yards at FanDuel Sportsbook. It's plus 390 right now. And the reason I want to go to him specifically is because there is some fluidity with his role. And this is going to ignore the Laporta thing for a second, but like going back to, I think it was week 15 or in 16, in those two games, it seemed like he was getting more like non-degaffy targets where it's just like, okay, chuck it, see what happens and pray kind of thing. He was getting more like diverse targets, I guess the way that I would say that. He got 6 and 7 targets in those two games. And then in the Dallas game, he had 3 targets for 69 yards, and that was with him leaving the game after just 17 routes with that injury. Now, didn't play last week, but then was full in practice on Wednesday. So to me, that says the injury is of no concern. And that's really what I want to see, because I care a lot about injuries, but with him, if he's a full practice by Wednesday, fully good to go. So that's kind of why I think that Williams' role is getting better overall. And then you potentially either take Sam Laporta out of the equation or make him not be 100%, and it leads to potentially 1 or 2 more targets going the direction of a guy who can rack up yards in a hurry. So to me, what this is with Williams is he is a player who can now get to an alternate market via 2 routes. He can get there via volume potentially if he maintains the role he was, I think, establishing before he got banged up. And then also he can get there via the downfield looks because he's just a freak athlete and can do stuff like that. Yet the Jared Goff revenge narrative, maybe the first play of the game, Ben Johnson draws up a shot, for Jared Goff to give a double-barreled Freedom Rockets to the Rams sideline kind of thing. We'll go down narrative street again. Sure, why not? So I think that Williams is becoming a bit less volatile now, but I don't mean that in the negative sense. I mean that where he can still at the high end of his range of outcomes while his median expectation is getting higher. And that to me is a good spot to look at all overs because you suddenly have potentially multiple routes to an over versus just the single route of, he breaks off a long play.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point. He's been pretty popular in the show, especially in this section this season. I know Sloth's gone to the well on that a few times. Connor doesn't need much to get a JAMO play to twist your arm. Any thoughts there, Connor?
No, I love it. I think the more that I read into this game environment, the more that I think that there's going to just be successful passing on both sides. Not as much running as I think we'd expect. Maybe some from Detroit, but I really don't think the Rams are going to be able to run the ball all that well or consistently, which leads me to believe that Stafford is just going to keep slinging it. And I think the Lions respond there. Plus, you don't have to push me to bet on Jameson Williams. I'm a fan. I'm a supporter. Even through the ups and downs here, I think that he'll continue to improve. And 70 plus, he's going to have one of these games. It's going to be like 6 for 170. I just may not be this season, but he'll have one next year. Maybe this week. Who knows?
All right. I feel relatively boring comparatively. But just a couple of do a different one. We haven't done these, the inversely correlated same game parlays that we could pick off. Particularly on DraftKings, where they give us the benefit of really boosting these odds for us. I feel like these are like we can almost name them the Mike Evans specials because I feel like he's kind of made for these types of parlays, and we've got to like bump on his reception number this week too. He's typically 4.5. We're juiced out a little bit on the under on the 5.5, but his line's at 5.5. So on Evans, you can go under 5.5 receptions, but take him at 100 plus receiving yards. And on DraftKings, that is going to pay 17-1. Again, just big plays. It's how Mike Evans wins. You can catch 5 balls, 100 yards. that's, we got a winner here on Mike Evans. Very much, I feel like, in the range of outcomes, obviously higher than his binary prop number from a reception standpoint or receiving yard standpoint, but it's Mike Evans, a lot of big plays. The other one that I like too, because I knew Connor was going to talk about CeeDee Lamb a little bit. I love the passing environment in that game as well. But Brandon Cooks, I think we've seen Cooks somewhat correlated to some of the better passing performances from Dak Prescott this season. And, Cooks has had somewhat of a fluctuating average at the target, but we know how he wins. And like, if you look at for the entire season, explosive pass rate allowed, it's been a problem for the Packers. Last 4 weeks in particular, it's been like drastic. I think 13% explosive pass rate allowed. We mentioned Jair Alexander might not be in this game. Hasn't been really good. Anyway, sorry, Jim. I know that's your team. I love Jair. It's not been great as of late. So you're going to get maybe even a best case scenario, probably a 80% Jair Alexander in the spot. So if you look at Brandon Cooks, we don't need him to do too much. The reception line is 3.5. So we go under 3.5 receptions, over 70 yards, and we're playing 17-1. So again, like we don't need him to get to the 100 that we're asking Mike Evans. It's really not been a big part of Cooks's role this year. We're looking at basically one big one. Or maybe two kind of, above his longest reception type plays, and he gets us there. So, Jim, any thoughts there?
I was real close to making Brandon Cooks mine. 60 plus, I think, is a pretty good number for him if you want like a more like traditional number for Cooks. Like if you look at his splits indoors versus outdoors, Evan Silva used to have this bit with Tutu Atwell where he'd say Tutu Atwell, if he's outdoors, can't get any yards because he like blows away because he's so light. Cooks is a bit like stockier, like a little bit thicker than that. But I think the Tutu Atwell Evan Silva theory applies to Brandon Cooks because when he's outdoors, he's at 0.6 yards per route run. Indoors, 1.8. Most of that's from that 172 yard games. Like, great assault. It was all from one game. But like, that means he can also have big games. So I was very on Cooks. I have this one personally as well for like an alt number on Brandon Cooks for those exact reasons you laid out. So I'm really into him for sure, just in general, but like for all markets specifically because he does have that upside within his range of outcomes.
Love it. Love it. Connor, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think I'm looking at FanDuel too. It's like 3.5 and 60 yards is like 15-1, 3.5 and 70 yards is 24-1 on FanDuel.
Even better on FanDuel. Okay.
Yeah, look at that. So it's interesting if I know Jim probably doesn't love to hear this, but if you shop around, you can
behind the FanDuel logo.
Find decent numbers.
The banner off today, even though they are a sponsor. We took their banner off, so we're free to go.
Yeah, we're fumbling, but no, it's good. My next play is from FanDuel though, so that's that's a good. We're making up ground there at least.
Yeah, Jalen Warren was a FanDuel play, so we're good. Friends at FanDuel, don't yell at us. So. All right, so Connor, Floyd can go back to you for the basic stuff. If you're hanging out with us, reminder to jump in the chat. Let us know some plays. Let us know some things that you want us to talk about. Some looks that you have here, and we'll get to as many as possible at the end.
Yeah, no, 100%. All right, so we're sticking with the under train here. I played some overs early in the week. I know that's usually not my vibe. I usually do unders in the Discord and then overs here because they're more fun. But I'm sticking with some unders here. So we're going to go to the Philly and Bucks game here. A lot of uncertainty here, but I'm going to go with the under on Rachaad White's carries. It's at 16.5. The Bucks are 3-point dogs here. And if you look at Rachaad White's games, every single time that they've lost, he's only had more than 17 carries in one of those games. And when they win, he has more than those carries. I'm kind of a Bucks guy here, or an Eagles guy here. I think that the Eagles win and take care of business. We look at the Bucks. Anytime they've played anyone decent, they've lost by basically double digits, including to the Eagles earlier in the season. Obviously, there's some injury concerns here. AJ Brown, not sure if he's going to play. Devonta Smith was a full go. Jalen Hurts, his throwing hand is a little bit messed up. That being said, they had a ton of success on the ground last time as well with DeAndre Swift and with Kenneth Gainwell. So I think that we see the Eagles skew run heavy here and probably dominate time of possession, potentially get a lead. This Bucks team, meanwhile, they've fed Rachaad White, but again, it's only been when they're winning. When they are like in neutral game scripts or negative game scripts, they throw a bunch, and that matches up well against the Eagles secondary, who's not very good. They're more of a pass funnel as well. So like, can he get there to 17 plus carries? Sure. But if they're losing it all, I think that's an out. If they're just regular game planning, they want to throw the ball more because it's better, I think that's an out as well. So two different outs there, I think, for his under on the carries. 16.5 at FanDuel, minus 114. Other books posting worse numbers, but I think I would still play it like minus 130 probably.
Jim, I feel like that play correlates with whatever your handicap is for the game, right? Because if it feels game script dependent.
Yeah, I think that that's kind of how you want to view it there is like if you agree that like the Eagles are going to win this game, like that's where you want to go. But also I think that White's numbers in general are kind of high. So like I think that even if you think the books are correct on their handicap of this game, you could still justify Rashad White unders. Like I thought a bit about his rushing plus receiving under 91.5. Cause like that's a pretty fair number for him as a baseline, but he got kind of banged up week 18. I know he's okay. But he got banged up there. When they were down against the Saints, that game they were down 23-0. There was a bit more Chase Edmonds in that game than you typically see. So honestly, I think he's on a little bit shakier ground than he had been. I've been high on Rashad White this whole year and have benefited from him plenty of times. But like the past couple weeks, whether it be the injuries or ineffectiveness, whatever it may be, there's been some like downsides there. So I think that in general, Rashad White props are a little bit lofty. So even if you think that again, Eagles are properly handicapped at -3, I still think there are some routes to checking out Rashad White unders right now.
Nice. All right. I like it, Connor. Slops off the show, and then you bring all the unders back for the people.
I know he hates unders, but it's I love him. I usually keep him privates that way he doesn't throw up on the show. But
well, we just we don't have an engaged listener. We can't get his feedback on the play because he tunes out. He starts going on his phone and looking at his next plays, and not good for the show production either. He tunes out. So all right, bring it back. Jim was not only engaged, he had a good point there too. So all right, floor back to you, Jim's your third play here.
So I'm conflicted on which way to go with this. I want to buy into Jordan Love. I think there are two routes to doing so. You could do so via his rushing prop. It's 7.5 at FanDuel. It's -118 on the over. So you're paying a bit there to get there. His passing prop is 242.5, -114. He's actually gone over both these numbers in 10 out of 17 games so far this year. And I kind of think that even if they lose this game, the Packers offense will be able to move the football. I'm going to go with the passing yardage prop as my preferred route, but I think the rushing number is also pretty interesting. Now, he went over this number, as I mentioned, in 10 out of 17 games, which is 59%. And only 4 of those games were indoors, which he does get here going down to Dallas. And we generally see passing efficiency, passing volume increase when games are indoors. And this is very likely the healthiest his pass catchers have been the entire year. Christian Watson, questionable, which is like the most rosy outcome you could have for Christian Watson. Jaden Reed, not listed on the injury report anymore. Romeo Dobbs, good to go too. So like he's got everyone healthy. Potentially for the first time this entire year. The role players are playing really well. Luke Musgrave coming back from that kidney as well. So you've got all these guys healthy. So I think this Packers offense will be efficient and they'll be able to keep pace, which could allow them to be run heavy maybe, and that could put you towards Aaron Jones. But also, Love is efficient enough right now to still get close to 242.5 on non-elite volume. And I think that's why I want to look here. So 242.5, the number for Love, for the passing yardage number. That's actually like 6 yards lower than every other book right now. So if you're price shopping and you want an over, got to go to FanDuel. We'll get that actual plug in there. But I think that there is reason to be high on this number just because I think the Packers do play pretty well at offense. I'm not going to talk about their defense, but I think their offense plays pretty well here. And I think that Love is a big part of that.
We made a good case for Pro Packers at the time on our show on Wednesday. It was 7.5. I know Clark is even on Packers money line. I think that it's 7. I would still be interested in the Packers, but yeah, I mean, I'm very pro Love. We'll get there momentarily. I like it, Connor. What do you think here on Jim's breakdown of the passing yards?
No, just keep rolling because I just saw your push notification here.
So my next play is Jordan Love over 2.5 rushing attempts. This is plus 130. We're just hanging out plus money bangers today. That's all we got. Jalen Warren was plus 120. We gave you the alts, and now Jordan Love plus 130 on DraftKings. This is out there. Like if you have prop builders plus 132, it's plus money everywhere that you could find it. He has at least 2 in every game this season. So again, like we need 3. But at least like we have 2 every single game, and he's topped it in 9 of 17. This has been a long held theory of ours here on the show, and mobile quarterbacks run more in the playoffs. And our guy, TJ Hernandez, did some math to kind of back this up for us back in 2022. So we haven't updated it. And to be fair, Love falls outside of the scope that we held there. So what TJ did was he went back to 2000, found that all quarterbacks that run for at least 20 yards per game in the regular season average roughly 6 yards more per game in the playoffs. Now, we are short of that with Love, but I think the handicap is the same. This is a mobile quarterback who's willing to run. So even though we didn't hit the threshold of what we were looking for, I want to be transparent there. He still, I think, does fit in a quarterback that I think is going to run a little bit. And then we have the other part too. What do we also look at when we're looking to target rushing quarterbacks? We want to look at teams that play a higher than average rate of man coverage and teams that like to blitz. And Dallas is like check across the board here. So the yardage total, as Jim said, is out there 7.5. I think that's fine. Last week against the Bears, 3 attempts, -1 yard. So like, I think if you like yardage, and we've seen him, like look at some of his best rushing games this season have been like the Saints, a team that plays man at a higher than average rate and likes to blitz. The Vikings sit in zone, but they blitz their face off. There's some of the better games for Love from a rushing standpoint. So if you like rushing, I would look for some alts instead of just doing the 7.5. But I like the carries because it feels like a coin flip based off of what he's done, and we're getting it at plus money. So Jim, I know what you think. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm pretty into it, honestly. I think there was something that someone else brought it up too, and like I was looking at it more, and it seems like kind of going through Jordan Love's games as well. In a lot of their other games where they're like winning or at least kind of dominating, he doesn't really do that much. But if you look at early in the season when they were losing a shitload, like he's running way more. And so I think that's kind of plays into like you're playing from behind. You need like that gunslinger kind of just like approach of just like running a little bit more. And I think that we're going to see that here from the Packers. I do think that we're probably going to get a run-heavy approach from Green Bay to begin with, because this Dallas run defense, dead last rushing success rate allowed. Saw them get bullied by the Bills a couple of weeks ago as well. So like I think that's probably the initial approach. But again, when Dak and CD are hooking up for 200 passing yards, I think it's going to be pretty tough for the Packers to stick with the run and Aaron Jones, which is one of the things which not to carry us to another subject, but those Aaron Jones props, they're high, but they're rightfully high. But if they fall behind, he's going to fall way short, depending on how quickly they fall behind. So I have no idea on that kind of stuff, and I hate betting in that kind of volatility.
I know we typically try to stay away from like, and again, I already played a running back reception number. It's typically a market we try to stay away from, receiving yards and receptions from running backs because they are so volatile. I felt last week the Aaron Jones receiving yard number was way too low. I think he hit on the first drive. I kind of stalled out at like 30 yards, and it's like 20.5 again. I feel like it's a really nice. It feels really, really nice. And again, they're really volatile, so I'm maybe staying away, but it's something maybe I look for in game. But yeah, this Love one I really like, especially like I said, I feel like I lean that way at -110, -115, but we're getting incentivized essentially to take it. So yeah, and Jim's on board. Confirmation bias. I love when that happens. We're building same game parlays for you here. Brandon Cooks, Love rushing and passing, CD Lamb alts. Like you can, we're doing it for you. This is, paint by numbers. You can
Tony Pollard unders, let's go all across the board here.
Yes. And we didn't price it out for you, but we put it together. So yeah, absolutely love it. So, all right. So typically I talk defensive stuff. I'll give you some tackles that I like, or some guys that maybe aren't posted yet that we're going to eyeball. Right now we got a lot of stuff out. There's some games that haven't been pushed out. But there are a few out there and some guys that are coming out that actually typically aren't usually posted. And I really don't, I don't know. I think the books want to give us more, which is I absolutely love to see. Now this one, I love it. I don't want to like overdo it here and oversell it, but I did a lot of work on this today because I was so caught off guard by this line. I thought that there was maybe something wrong with it, but I feel really good. So typically, you get theoretical plays. Right now, you're going to get an actual tackle play to bet. We are going to take Melvin Ingram, under 3.5 tackles and assists. And this is plus 130 on DraftKings, plus 123 on Caesars, MGM, plus 125. So cluster injuries on Miami side, obviously, especially a defensive end, that forced Melvin Ingram to unretire. They brought him off the couch to start playing football. He played 75% of the snaps last week against the Bills. He did not play more than 62% of the snaps in any game last season. But again, like his role is going to be larger. Phillips, Chubb, Van Ginkel, they're all on the IR. So we're probably going to see a lot of Melvin Ingram again. The Bills ran 77 plays last week. It's a lot. So the 75% snap share was 58 plays. That's really good amount. Chiefs are middle of the pack from a play per game standpoint in the season. They have not hit 77 in a game all season. They're likely not doing it in a polar vortex. So especially when the Chiefs get up, they average like just a tick over 60 plays per game. So play volume could be a concern here. Now we get to Ingram specifically. He did not top this at all last season. At any point did he top 3.5 tackles and assists. Now, he actually had more games last year with 0 than he did with 3. So this is really reactive to last week. He had 5. So we're banking on last week. And last week he had 1.5 sacks. That counts as 2 tackles against the Bills. You know who doesn't take sacks? Patrick Mahomes. He does not take sacks. He's lowest every year, basically, since been in the league. His pressure to sack rate is minuscule, less than 10%. He is an elite at avoiding pressure. So also we're looking at just 13.4% of the tackles this season against the Chiefs have come from opposing defensive ends. Is the 5th lowest mark in the league. So again, another matchup specific thing, and then a bad scorekeeper spot too. Kansas City home games, 2nd fewest assists per game, and the fifth lowest just assist rate overall. So I don't think we get to 75%. But again, if I go ceiling outcome, high play volume, and he plays 75% of the snaps in the game, I have him at 1.78 tackles and assists. So we're getting plus money here for him to not get to 4. I absolutely love this play. We don't typically advise for multi-unit plays. I really like it.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, you did. If you heard my phone buzz, it's because it was my 2-factor authentication coming through, and it moved to plus 110 while you were talking at a certain book that shall not be named. Pulled up another one, it's down to minus 101. I was not fast enough. So
I'm hammering minus 101. If you have the ability to take alts, even you're gonna get like plus money over plus, you get over 2-1 at under 2.5. Again, like I think he's probably playing 40 to 45 plays. It's just not his style. He's just not a big tackle guy. And a lot of defensive ends aren't. And this is a bad matchup for him to do it. So very, very, very reactive to a guy who's played 3 games all season. Like before last week, 75% of the snaps, he played 36% of the snaps the week before. So like, this is a really good spot, and saved it for the show. Yeah. I have, like the hit rate here is right around 90% based on the projections, and the EV is hovering around 100% EV based off of the price here, which is just wild. I don't think I've seen it all season. So I did a lot of work because I'm like, what am I missing? And I'm not missing anything. We're good.
I'm curious, like your thoughts though, like based on like your experience with betting like tackle props, like Ingram was like, isolated in like the broadcast on Sunday night. Do you think that's why the number is so high, is because he got like legit screen time and like discussion from Chris Collinsworth? 'Cause I think like, honestly, if I'm trying to figure out why, like that to me is the first reason I think of, is because people are just talking about him a lot.
Yeah. He got 1.5 sacks, right? And he like hadn't played, and it's easy to talk about like the injuries that they've had with Chubb and Phillips going down, and now Van Ginkel goes down in game. So all of a sudden this guy who was sitting at home week 15 is now playing meaningful snaps in the team that, for a playoff team. Yeah. I mean, and again, like massively reactionary to the single game, right? This is not a guy that like, I didn't even have him on, to be honest, transparency, because he hadn't been playing. I didn't even have him on Miami in my sheet. I had to go back. I have his 21, 22 baseline numbers. I took a look at them, added them in. So I had what his like snaps per tackle rate and stuff are. And I'm like, this is just, we have one game of 5, so he gets on the board and plus money. Like, so
I was able to get plus 125 just now. So there was still some plus money lingering out there. As long as you buzz through all the apps and are okay and being annoyed with like all the texts for two-factor authentication.
Yeah, no, it is frustrating, but and they move. The tackles move very quickly. Figured with an audience too, they're going to move quickly. And again, we did give it to subscribers first, so their best shot to get the 130. But yeah, absolutely love it. Some other spots I like. We've already played a few, but yeah, we have some other stuff that's going to come here. It's decent tackle week, so we're gonna get some volume up here. No sacks that I love in particular, but yeah, Connor, you can take the mic and run us through some questions.
Yeah, sweet. All right. Let's see here. We'll start at the top here. Z-Man, Amon-Ra over 7.5 receptions. Jim, any thoughts, interest on Amon-Ra this week? I feel like it's about right, but I mean, you could probably make a case for the over.
I got to check the number on that because that's going to influence things quite a bit with this one. So Amon-Ra over 7.5 is minus 112. That's a big number for me. I think it's probably properly handicapped if I had to guesstimate things. Like, I always have a hard time taking overs on like large numbers, not necessarily rushing to take unders. But like I just think for me it winds up being a no bet more often than not, just because like it is a really big number, deservedly so, given his involvement. But I just have a hard time getting there, like philosophically, for the way I like to bet things.
You could not be speaking my language more. That's totally agree. I mean, again, the only way that I get action in these high overs is via alt overs like
Yeah.
CD Lamb. I mean, CD Lamb's regular prop is 100. His alt prop at 120 is 2-1. I mean, at that point, if I'm taking over 100, like, I mean,
Right.
The volatility there is massive. And again, we took over 148 for 5-1 for his regular prop there. So Amon Ra, again, I think if you want to play it, take like 9 or 10 receptions. Why not? Cool. Let's see here. We got a little bit more Pacheco talk. Daddy Johnny asked Pacheco attempts instead. I think that, Jim, you were on the rushing and receiving instead. Do you like the attempts? I think it's like 15.5, right?
16 he's at 15.5 right now, minus 136. So I think that's where you're looking at alt attempts as well. Kind of taking the thesis of no McKinnon, CEH is dust, game script potentially, weather. I think all those things adding up. So I think looking at alternate numbers on Pacheco, probably the way that I would want to go. And you mentioned like alts and like rushing plus receiving. I like that look as too. So I think in general for him, just because minus 136 is tough for me to get to.
Yeah.
I think I'd look at alt numbers for Pacheco there.
Yeah. MGM has a minus 120. If you can get down anything there, that would be your best number for 15.5. We are moving to 16.5 in some spots as well.
Yeah, makes sense. Also, David brought in, you're forgetting too, one of the hardest things to do in cold weather is tackling. He meant tackling, he put talking, but Pacheco runs like a psycho.
Also, if it's going to be that cold, talking is hard too.
Yeah.
I won't say anything to anybody.
Good. Oh, man. Noonan, I'm curious your thoughts here because I go back and forth on this. So Bennett Clark brings up 56 yards for Kelsey as his over-under. His playoff average is 86. I mean, the man has been dust for the last second half of the season. Looks like he's just, swooning for Taylor Swift. Kind of chubby out there, dad running. But he's Travis Kelsey, and it's the playoffs, and he's awesome, and Patrick Mahomes is awesome. Like, I feel like it's going to be one of those things that at the end of the game, you're going to be like, no shit, it's Travis Kelsey. Of course, he was going to go for like 8 for 100 and 3 touchdowns. Or it's going to be like, yeah, he's dust. He has 4 catches for 40 yards and 0 touchdowns. I mean, is that where you're at, Noonan? I mean, like, I don't know what to do with it, to be honest.
Yeah, if we want to go down like a narrative street for like, I think the third time on the show, we're also like, it's the playoffs, and playoffs. It's also like if Mahomes is gonna like try to like force volume to someone in this game, probably stuffing it in the Travis Kelsey's belly as much as he can. So that probably helps it too. Like he knows what's happening in key moments with some of these just jabronis on the outside. It's gone very poorly. So that would be part of it. Again, like that's not like projection based. That's not target share based. It's not target per route run based per se. It hasn't gone well for Kelsey, but I think in a spot where the games matter even more, probably getting fed a little bit more. Jim, what do you think?
Well, I think that the interesting thing here is in that first matchup in Germany, it seemed like they were super keyed in on Kelsey, the Miami defense was, but like, do they feel like they need to do that now with the way things have gone? So like, he may actually benefit from the dustiness in a very weird way if they decide like, nah, we're good. And like, I think that with Pacheco running as well as he has recently, it could allocate, it's a Vic Fangio defense. So they're never going to like allocate a ton of resources towards stopping the run, but maybe they shift a bit more that direction given the weather and stuff. So I could see it. I'm not going to bet it myself, but I could see the path to it for Kelsey at least.
Yeah, I'd be a little bit more worried. Like, so they haven't done a lot of like shadowing with Jalen Ramsey this season.
Yeah.
But if they happen to like, if Xavier Howard was healthy, maybe they'd be willing to do that, but he's not. So like, I think it's going to be really hard for them to justify shadowing Jalen Ramsey, who also like is a little bit dumb. So like, it could be a dust ball battle out there, but like, I don't know. That's probably not happening. He's probably not getting all that attention, but yeah, I think it's an interesting look. And I think, Connor, you're right. Like you probably kick yourself either way, regardless of, if it falls short or if it hits. You're like, damn, why didn't I hit 56.5? Like halftime, first half line is
yeah, right. Every time it's 3rd down and 6, they get like an 8-yard completion to Kelsey, and you're going to be like, oh shit, this is obvious. But
yeah.
Is what it is. Hindsight analysis doesn't always work. Let's see here. MVS just running wind sprints. Yeah, he sucks. That's all he does is run cardio. Baker absolutely feeds Evans, so the underception scares me. I mean, yeah, it's definitely possible / true. But at the same time, I think that when you're getting the plus odds at such good value that like with uncorrelated parlay, I think that kind of is the point of it. Like it's not going to be a favored play because it's like 17-1. So yeah.
Yeah. But also, I mean, let's look here real quick. He's been feeding him, right? Last 2 games, 3 receptions, 7 receptions, 4, 1. Like, so he's topped 5.5 receptions once in December, since December. So like, again, big plays, 86 yards, 162, 140. Like, so we see these games from him. So I get it, but it's kind of baked in. We're getting paid for it in a way we probably shouldn't be with these inversely correlated parlays.
Yeah, 100%. David is backing Jim's play here. Jameson will have his yards by the 3rd quarter. Shout out to you, David. Yeah, let's hope so. That'd be great. Jeff Stenberg's trying to sell his tickets live on stream. This is hilarious. Selling my Bucks tickets for anyone's interested. Hyundai Club seats with parking pass. I guess contact Jeff on Twitter. I don't know where they would reach you, but that's awesome. I do have a Jeff special though. For anyone with Prize Picks or Vivid, Tyler Bass under 6.5 kicking points is, in my mind, just outrageous. Like I think that is crazy because you're looking at a game where 25-mile-per-hour winds, snow. Like for you to lose that, they have to score 2 field goals and 2 touchdowns, which, I mean, probably not going to even kick 2 field goals, let alone 1. Anytime it's 4th and 5 or less, the Bills are going to go for it. And then, or you need a field goal and 4 touchdowns. So you're looking at 31 points in this game. Like, I don't know. I've been emptying the clip on this on Prize Picks. All of my promo funds, all of my money that I had saved from the season with season-long features are in on Tyler Bass unders. So that might be a little crazy. Jim, do you dabble in kicking props at all? I know Noonan doesn't really. He's more of a defensive guy, but you ever thought about that at all?
I should, because I care more about the weather than I should. So I should probably translate that to kicker bets. But no, I have not. I might need to, though, because that sounds outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, it's only with like weather stuff. I think there's always like I was hoping for a longest field goal prop, like longest field goal under like 45, under 47.
Right.
But I mean, they're too smart. They're not going to post that. But still, the kicking points I think is a good look. Let's see here.
I like it. Unfortunately, I was just going on here too to see if they happen to put Melvin Ingram on Prize Picks, and they did not. So
yeah,
they're slow to react. They'll eventually put everyone on by by like just shortly before game time. But yeah, we do not have a free Prize Picks play with Ingram. But yeah, I like that, Connor.
Yeah, it's a fun little spot there. I think you combine it with Kadarius Toney under 10.5 receiving yards. It's a good look. I mean, hasn't played, may not even play, but it's limited. Andy Reid said he's going to be limited. I mean, this guy might just like catch a punt and be done. Like, I don't even think he's going to play. Like, he might run fewer than 5 routes and he's at 10.5 receiving yards, which again, you can get burned on one play. You need a thick stomach, but I don't know. I'm kind of a sick human being, and I kind of like those unders on 10.5 receiving yards. Let's see here. Josh Allen under passing attempts a lock. Jim, I think would you agree with that or disagree with that? I mean, I don't know. It's like 28.5, 29.5.
I mean, like they haven't been very pass heavy, and then you combine that with the weather. I don't think anything's a lock, so I can't say that.
Yeah,
there's no such thing. So like I can't go that far. 28.5 is pretty low. So even though they have been run heavy recently, the weather is what it is. I still feel like that's a stay away from me personally.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So you're telling me that you're not going to be tweeting out, lock in all caps and then a play with
my skin crawls
analysis
every time that I see it, like a visceral reaction every single time. Just
yeah, we've been pretty vocal about that on the show. It's like
whatever. I just hear the responsible gaming like ad reads in my head every time I hear the word lock. It's like gambling problem. Call 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming. Just bust them all out.
It's so good. Awesome. So we got Michael. Any good ways to play CD Lamb? Great spot. Yeah, I think it's just alts. We touched on that. Let's see here. Last 5 of 6, I believe one has gone under his passing total, but Packers should be down all game. And then we have him saying Packers will get ass pounded at Dallas. I think we have disagreements there, David, on that. But I think Jim, do you think that would you take him +7 too, or like to win, or are you just betting the overs?
I have 7.5, and I have the money line. So I didn't want to publish. I talked about it on Monday, I guess, on my show, but like I didn't talk about the money line there. But if we're being honest, this is the trust tree, right? I can be honest about my Packers money line ticket.
Safe.
Yeah,
We
of
have
course.
+7.5. I think. I know. I
Yeah.
do. I think we talk. Yeah. I think. Yeah. So we're good. Asa pounded. Is he Italian? Is this,
And then Michael, in your defense, over 250 in 7 of the last 9 games, got past a slow, weird start to the season, figured something out. I totally agree. He's looked really good in a lot of games. I mean, he's not.
It was our
consistent,
handicap for the. Yeah, it was our cap for the entire season, right, Connor?
Yeah.
First year really as a starter. Every single pass catcher except what Degora is is a first or second year guy. So doesn't even count. But all these guys are young. It makes sense that they've kind of come into their own. So I understand if you think that they're going to go to Dallas and get boat raced. Dallas has done that to a lot of teams this season at home. Usually bad teams. I don't really think that that's what this version of the Packers team is. I mean, I'm with Connor. I think the over is probably the best play because there's no scenario really where I think the Packers cover and this doesn't. You don't see a ton of points, but yeah, 7.5. I feel I like having that ticket.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see here. We got Jeff laying some of his kicker props. Undefeated, so I'm getting cocky. Parlaying Elliott +110, Carlson +125 to both make over 1.5 field goals. I don't think that Jeff has dropped a loser in the chat all season, so take that for what it's worth. I've tailed a couple here and there, but I gave you my kicker prop of the week already. This is an interesting one here between Kupp and Puka. Jim, any thoughts there? Over 5.5 receptions for both, either. I kind of like both. I think you can play either are valuable, but any leans on either one?
So my one worry with that would be that Demarcus Robinson's been getting a lot of work. He's actually earning targets at a decent clip now that he's been playing. If you look at the games with Robinson playing a lot and with Higbee playing, Puka's target share is 26% and Kupp is 24%. That's a good chunk below their season-long numbers. So that would give me a bit of pause, is that weirdly Demarcus Robinson is earning targets. So somehow I am now concerned about a couple things with them. So I didn't expect to say that in 2024, but here we are.
Here's the answer. You go to FanDuel and you bet on Matthew Stafford over 23.
There we go.
I wanted to bet it. I was going to talk about on the show. It's on my list. It's kind of steamed out elsewhere. FanDuel is kind of like lone wolf right now in the market, holding it at -114 to 23.5. It's 24.5 in some spots. DraftKings is -130, 135. So yeah, I like.
It's tough.
Even because we've talked about it, right? We talked about it again. The Rams, surprisingly, as much as they throw the football, they have a pretty strong run lean. When they get up, they love to run the football. It's kind of tough to do against the Lions, but even if we don't have the volume from Stafford, because I was trying to play around with attempts, I think he could be really efficient in this spot. So
I was trying to go for Kyron unders because of that. And I looked at you just look at the game log and it's nope, I'm good. They've not only been running, but they've been efficient. So even though it's a bad matchup, I couldn't. I tried to talk myself into unders there, but I couldn't.
Yeah. And if you like the Rams, I think that's a bad play too, because of the way the volume we could expect.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So
yeah, I was looking at it. I mean, it opened in I got a 92 at Prize Picks at open, and then it was hovering in the high 80s, and I was like, okay, maybe I should consider this. Started digging more. By the time I got around to it was 82, and I'm like, oh, forget it. At this point, I mean, he's going to see 17, 18 carries. Just how efficient he is there. Cool. And then Shark Burners, what's up, 4-4 guys? Great to be here. Awesome show. Thanks, Shark Burners. Appreciate you. JMD 2-point conversion attempt in Pitt Buffalo +155. I kind of like this. This is fun.
Yeah.
Just to get one attempt.
One 2-point conversion attempt, not even conversion attempt. JMD, where's that at?
What book, Jay?
Yeah. I mean, it's probably going to be some random, offshore or whatever. But hey, no shame there. Wherever you can make money, you can make money. Let's see here. We got. We talked about Puka versus Kupp. Singletary under 65.5 rushing yards. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah,
his role is so good.
It is. They did.
Yeah.
They didn't even use Pierce at all last week.
He's been so good that I've stopped calling him Devin Single Digits. And it broke my heart because I love that nickname. So I think his role's great. So I've stopped hating on him, and that's a tragic turn of events there.
Yeah, motor. He's been playing pretty well. They're running a little bit more. They were weirdly and have been skewing run heavy on first and second down, and then just letting Stroud bail them out. Hoping they don't do that this week. But
it happened 16 times in the Indy game. It was so frustrating. Because I had the Texans, just they made me it was unnecessary anxiety.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When they bombed that first one, Nico Collins, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be sick. You know, they're gonna win by like 40. And then they just kept running it with Singletary for like 2 yards, and then it'd be like an 8-yard completion to Nico. I'm like, what are we doing here? You know, like this guy could have 400 yards today. All right. So Singletary under is like kind of a, maybe. I think it's the usage is too good, probably. And then let's see here. Last couple, David Atkins said Eagles could take Evans away. Godwin might be better bet. Not really sure the Eagles can take Evans away, to be entirely honest. But I do think Godwin's a good bet regardless. I think you could bet on either of them. Noonan, would you agree there?
Yeah, I haven't seen the Eagles take anything away for a very long time. So maybe they can schematically try that this game. But yeah, I have no problem with either.
Nice. All right, JMD. Only place I found for the 2-point conversion bet was BetMGM. I mean, hey, if I can't get down more than a couple of bucks, I'm not even gonna open the app. But if you can, I think it's a pretty solid look. And then let's see here. Michael Yunker, this is a good question. Do you think weather is having too much of an influence on how we view player props for indoor games, just normal playing environments, but seems like they're getting labeled as all smash spots? I'll give my take real quick. I think that partially that might be true as like kind of like a, anchoring from the outside games. But I also do think that like Rams, Lions, both their defenses are really suspect, and they have 2 quarterbacks can execute. And then on the other side, like, some other indoor games, kind of the same thing there. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, I mean, looking at those 2 games specifically, like for my totals model, like I almost never get to high totals when there's a tight spread, just because it's not super correlated well there. But like for the Dallas Green Bay game, I had the total at 49.5, so like way up there for me. I know I'm not betting it over, but like it's up there. And then for Detroit and the Rams, 48.8. So like leaning towards unders and the actual totals, but those are really high totals for my model, given where the spreads are at. So I think that it's proper to be high on those spots just because like win does matter a lot for this kind of thing.
Yeah, I get it. It's probably a little bit, but not. I mean, we're trying to isolate the way we break these games down independently. Like when we're handicapping, Detroit and the Rams, it's doesn't, my thoughts of what's going on in Buffalo are not part of the handicap at all. So I think it's a fair question though, like in terms of where the prop market is, and we want to chase overs in those spots. But I think that it just kind of ripe for the picking in terms of the matchups there. So
yeah. JMD got down $36. Nice. I mean, you probably win 50 off that at 60. So hey,
plus 155, bud. Nice. It's okay.
Yeah. No unit shaming here. Hey, whatever, buy you a couple lunches, in this day and age. But sweet. Awesome. Well, that was all the questions we had. That was great. Love it.
Jim, really appreciate you filling in. Stay warm this week. Let the folks know where they could find you and all your stuff.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Jim Sonis. We have a betting podcast 5 days a week called Covering the Spread over at FanDuel Research. And, just talking props, talking sides, totals, and stuff like that. It's a fun time. I appreciate both of you having me on. It was good to chop it up for a bit.
Love it. Yeah, I know Gadula's got you set with all the extra, golf data and stuff. But let's talk.
Hey, JT Poston's rallying, man. We're in a better mood now than we were when.
Oh, we Poston rallying.
He's 5 under for today, so we're good.
Oh,
we're good,
baby! We are live.
I got Poston top 10, so we're good. Let's ride.
Poston was my shortest outright of the week.
I love
40, it. 40 it open. So yeah, we're still cooking. I gave Connor these bets. I don't know if Connor Taylor needed bets, but he got the screenshot this week of the card. So we'll see.
Did I? I didn't tell him. I didn't. I must have missed that one.
I love the honesty, at least.
I do too. I appreciate it. Yeah. So, all right. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up, subscribe on your way out the door. We appreciate you hanging out with us. We'll be back to talk all this next week as well. Wednesday for the game preview and Friday again for props. So for Connor and Jim, I'm Ryan. We'll see y'all next time. Thanks, everybody.